All right, well, we're going to kick it off. Welcome everyone to University of Fairfax's next webinar. My name is Andrea DeTono. I am the Vice President of Marketing here at University of Fairfax, and we are delighted to have you all here joining us for this webinar with our student, our DIA student, Tammie Washington. A little bit of housekeeping. We are going to be recording the session. That way we can replay it and reuse it later. You will all receive a copy of the slides by email within the next couple of days. Please stay on mute. That way we can keep background noise to a minimum for the purposes of the recording. But please do feel free to ask questions. Go ahead and put them in the chat. I will monitor the chat and then I'll bring up the questions towards the end that are directed towards Tammie if you have any. All right, with that, Tammie, I'm going to pass it over to you. Feel free to take it over.
Great, thank you, Andrea, for that introduction. First, I would love to thank the University of Fairfax for giving me this opportunity to speak this evening. And I would also love to thank the participants that are joining us this evening and also acknowledge those who may view the webinar at a later point. This webinar is structured into two parts. The first part, I will share a little bit about myself, where I work, some of the organizations that I support, what I do for the Marine Corps. In the next part, I will share some of the reasons why I chose the University of Fairfax and the Doctorate of Information Assurance program. There's also, as Andrea mentioned, the question and answer period towards the end of the webinar. So with that, let's get started. So in terms of my work experience, I joined the Marine Corps when I was about 17 years old, and I have been associated with the organization for about 26 years now as both active duty Marine and a federal employee. I joined the doctoral program here at the university in October of 2019. That was about 2 months after I completed my master's degree. I am currently in my second to last course. Right now, I'm awaiting approval for the research site. I tend to conduct my research at the Marine Corps. So once I have that approval, I can go ahead and conduct my study and complete chapters 4 and 5 of the dissertation. So my dissertation is focused on information security policy management in the context of FISMA compliance, since I am with a federal organization. And then you can see there on the slide, there's some of my educational pursuits and some of the certifications that I hold. Before I get into what I do for the Marine Corps, I do want to share where I'm located. So on your screen, there's a map of all of the locations, the primary base locations within the Marine Corps. And as you can see, we have a global presence. However, this map does not depict like recruiting stations, U.S. embassies, reserve stations, and other locations where you might find Marines co-located with other branches of service. But I do want to draw your attention to the top right corner of the map. I work on what's called Marine Corps Base Quantico. It is a military installation located in the National Capital Region. I'm about 35 miles south of Washington, D.C. Quantico is known as the crossroads of the Marine Corps, and that is because it is the epicenter for Marine Corps concepts, doctrine, and equipment, and education for Marines. So with that, I'll move into what I do on a typical day. And the word typical is in quotes because it's far from a typical workday. These are some of the high-level functional areas that are part of my area of responsibility. And I'll work from left to right and touch on each one to give you an idea of what I do. So starting with the first block there, the Cybersecurity Workforce Program Manager. So what I do is ensure that everyone that has been assigned to the cybersecurity or cybersecurity IT workforce have the proper appointment letters in place, that they are qualified, meaning that they have the proper education, training, or certification to do their job, that this information is captured in our authoritative databases, and that if they do not have the requisite training or minimum qualifications, that I help them, navigate and find different resources to help them, and or obtain waivers while they're still working to achieve their minimum qualifications. Right above that is assessment and authorization. Some may be more familiar with the term risk management framework from the NIST publications. And what I do is ensure that DoD IT under my charge is approved for use. That could be commercial ISPs, certain software products that we use. We also manage industrial control systems as well. So that's just making sure that it goes through the correct process, and those risks are captured for the authorizing official. You'll also see conduct or facilitate inspections. I do serve as an augmentee inspector for the Command Inspector General aboard Marine Corps Base Quantico, and that entails going out to various organizations and assessing their compliance with our cybersecurity checklist. And I think one of the most interesting organizations that I've inspected thus far is Marine Cryptologic Support Battalion. Although it is a Marine Corps organization, they also report to the NSA. So it's quite interesting to see how that relationship works, with them falling under that organization. The next item there is disaster recovery and continuity of operations. So in that capacity, I ensure that our designated stakeholders and key personnel have the communication means to continue operations, to continue their communications if we were to experience a degradation of services, power outages, natural disasters, things of that nature. Towards the middle, you'll see identity and access management. And in this capacity, I ensure that those authorized personnel go through the correct procedures to obtain logical and physical access, whether that's to the base, and whether that's to our network systems or standalone systems, reviewing, making sure they have the correct training completed to be able to obtain accounts, maintain their accounts, and things of that nature. At the top of the screen, you'll see vulnerability management. What I do is monitor for information assurance, vulnerability alerts and bulletins that come down from US Cybercom. I ensure that we are reporting our compliance within the prescribed timelines. And if we can't meet a particular timeline, I work with system administrators, network administrators to develop plan of actions and milestones. I also submit waivers if we need to deviate from any baselines, for that matter. The other item there is incident management. So if we have a PII breach, if there's a spillage, if there's an investigation that needs to occur on personnel, I assist with that as well. And the last area you see there is cyber policy review and awareness. And this is actually my favorite area to work with, and this takes up the preponderance of my time at work. And this is really just ensuring that our policies are up to date, that they contain the most relevant and up-to-date information. And I also assist a lot of our customers and even staff, peers, hire, if they have questions, policy questions, things that are permitted, things that are prohibited on the installation or as they complete their job. I assist them with interpreting the policies and getting the right information to the right people. Some of the lesser activities that I also participate in that are not captured here would include budget submission. If my organization needs certain products or services or training that's required, I certainly participate in that. If there's procurement that needs to occur, I do help with screening the products, ensuring that those things can be permitted on the network as well. So not only do I love what I do, I really love who I support aboard the base. And that's what I want to show you here with this slide. This is a list of supported staff and entities that are on Marine Corps Base Quantico. Now, this is not an exhaustive list, but I did want to share some examples of those organizations that you also might find in the civilian sector as well. For example, the chaplain, so those are your religious services. We have the fire department. We have the Marine Corps Exchange. So that's our retail store. The Marine Corps University is also located aboard the base. You'll see the Marine Helicopter Squadron 1. Now, that is what the president and the vice president uses for transportation. The military police is aboard the base. Just outside the base, we have the Marine Corps Museum and the FBI, NCIS. And what I love is that they each have unique requirements and unique missions. And I get to learn a lot about different occupations, different laws that we need to adhere to, different policies. One day I could work on, obtaining or helping someone obtain unmanned drones to support range operations. Another moment, I could be helping the chaplain's office obtain commercial ISP so that they can deliver or broadcast their religious services during church. Or I can be helping the military police make sure that the body cameras and the tasers that they're using continue to receive software updates, and that we're considering the privacy concerns that come along with body cameras and capturing images and things of that nature. So it's a very diverse group of entities that I support on the base. So the next part, I want to move into the second part of the webinar, which is why I chose the University of Fairfax. So I know when we're looking for a doctoral program, it can be very challenging to find a program that is the right fit, that addresses our personal interests, and that it really speaks to what we want to do. And for me, there was about 4 criteria that I had when I was searching for a doctoral program, and what really drew me to the University of Fairfax. And what the first reason is the curriculum, the practitioner-based and project-driven curriculum. Fun fact, this program is recognized by the Department of Homeland Security. So if you look on the website for NICSS, that's the National Institute for Cybersecurity Careers and Studies, you'll see this program listed under their education and training catalog. So I know that I was going to get a very high quality and relevant curriculum and get that experience with this particular program. And what I want to share with you is just a real world application of what I mean by a relevant curriculum. So this is an email chain in my organization. There's about 3 emails on here. The one at the bottom originated in my organization, and leadership sent an internal tasker. They wanted us to develop various scenarios that we could use to kind of test our personnel's responses to different scenarios or different injects and things that came up. So for me, it is are our personnel ready or equipped or trained or know how to respond to certain cybersecurity events? So if we were to experience a PII breach or a spillage, things of that nature, would they know what they needed to do? So rather than work on the scenario, I was so elated that I recently um, learned about this MITRE cybersecurity exercise playbook. I was so elated that I had this resource that I sent an email to one of my professors, which was Dr. Steve Munkeby. And I wanted to share this news with him. And as you can see, I said, this is exactly why I love this program, because I was able to use one of the resources from this particular course and apply it directly to my obligations at work. So you can see Dr. Munkaby's response, that it sounds like it was a great resource. And what I love about his response is that he emailed me that same day. He also offered support for the future. And the last thing I want to point out is that I was no longer in this course. I had already finished this course and went on to start other courses. So it's great to know that I was able to reach back and continue that dialogue and discussion, with my professors, and they continue to show that support. So the next reason why I chose the University of Fairfax is because of the financial aid and because it is a military friendly institution. And I don't believe that the latter part of this is cliche. I truly believe that they do care about this population, the military population. And for example, here are all of the financial aid opportunities that I was able to leverage throughout my doctoral program. So I used my Chapter 30 benefits. When those were exhausted, I was able to use 1 year of my Chapter 33 benefits. And when those funds were exhausted, I qualified for the Blue Ribbon Grant. And here's where I think the University of Fairfax really stands out in terms of financial aid opportunities, because I really don't see this with other universities. I was able to get $18,000 from this grant alone to go towards my tuition. And then you see towards the bottom of the screen, there were other fellowships that I was able to leverage to pay for school. So really my out-of-pocket expenses for tuition was really next to nothing at all. And that's really thanks to the financial aid here at the school. So the next reason really is it's not tangible like the other reasons I gave here, but it was still something that I was drawn to, which is the university motto. So as I was searching for schools and I was reviewing, the history of the school, the mission, the goals, this motto really stood out to me the most: secure your future. And if you look on the website, it talks about not only securing the nation, but securing your future. And what I did was I took this as a personal challenge. I really internalized this university motto, and I said, yes, I will use my degree to help me secure federal information and federal information systems. And yes, I will use my degree to help me with my other pursuits once I finish the program, because I do aspire to become an adjunct professor. So again, this motto really resonated with me as I was looking for a doctoral program. So the final reason was the student support. Before I started the program, what I heard a lot was that the doctoral program can be a very lonely process, a very lonely journey. But that has not been my experience at the school at all. And that is because I have this amazing support system within the school. This is my network of staff and faculty that has really been there throughout my journey and continue to be there throughout my journey here during the program. And I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge them and bear with me while I do that. There's my academic advisor, Patricia Mitchum. I can reach out to her about anything, whether it's concerns about my degree plan, making sure that I'm on course, I'm on track to graduate on time. Mariko, the financial aid officer, it's just made the process between transitioning between the Montgomery GI Bill and post 9/11. I hadn't had to have one worry if there was going to be a gap in disbursement of funds or anything like that. She's been simply amazing. Dr. Committee, the dean, she recently came on board, and we did have a webinar with her as well. And what she did was also scheduled a one-on-one with students. So I thought that was wonderful. I got a chance to speak with her, spend some time talking about where I was in the program, and if I needed any assistance and support from her. So that was great. There's Dr. Melinda Lyles, my dissertation mentor. I can't say enough great things about Dr. Lyles. She's worked with me from the beginning of the dissertation, or actually writing the dissertation, so chapter 1. I haven't finished my study yet, but she's already planning my future endeavors and speaking engagements and publishing and things of that nature. So I'm so grateful that she is in my corner. There's also the doctoral committee. As I was submitting my proposal, they gave great feedback to make sure that I was set up for success in terms of conducting my study and getting the results that I hope to achieve. There's also Dr. Scott. Truly, without Dr. Scott, I would not be speaking to you right now. And that is because in order to conduct a study at a federal agency or department, you must have what's called a federal-wide agreement. And that just means that the organization is demonstrating their commitment to ensuring human subjects protection. So anytime you involve people as part of your studies, you need to have certain protections in place to protect, whether it's their privacy and so forth. So since I'm conducting my study at the Marine Corps, I absolutely needed to have this federal-wide assurance. And this is something that wasn't in place, but Dr. Scott made it a point to submit an application through the Department of Health and Human Services and obtain a federal-wide insurance just for my study. And without that, I'm talking about years and years of hard work, because my entire dissertation is based on conducting a study in the federal government, in the Marine Corps. So I essentially had to start from scratch if I didn't have this in place. I also want to acknowledge Dr. Porter, the Dean of Libraries and Instructional Support. When it was time to write chapter 2, I reached out to Dr. Porter just to set up a Zoom session so I can get some tips on search strategies and things of that nature. She was very helpful. Even after our discussion, she continued to send me emails to support me with my dissertation. So that's been great. And the last points there are peers and professors. I mentioned Dr. Steve Munkeby, but I can really list out all of the professors who have been such great mentors, such great professors. Every single one of them has been instrumental and has been instrumental in helping me throughout the courses and even writing my dissertation as well. And of course, the peers, those that are still in the program and those that have graduated just recently, like Dr. Christy Cross. I still reach out to them from time to time if I have questions. I also reached out to them while they were still in the program, because they were a couple courses ahead of me. I wanted to stay motivated and track how far along they were in the program, so I can aspire to be where they were. So this is certainly my support system, and I don't think it's been a lonely process at all. So before we turn it over to the question and answer session, I do want to speak directly to any prospective students. I know there may be some apprehension or maybe fear or maybe hesitancy with starting such a journey. But I do want to share a few words with you. And this is what I've used to get me from submitting my application, to the school back in 2019, and something that I go to, almost all the time, even now as I'm nearing the end of the program. And it's a quote from the former First Lady, and she says, "You must do the thing you think you cannot do." And for me, this really resonated with me because, I did doubt myself initially. Is my application going to get approved? How will I fare against my peers? Am I able to keep up with the coursework? Am I able to balance, having a full-time job, a family, and go through the program and be successful? And yes, here I am 3 years later, and I still continue to do just that. So, if anything, I want you to take this quote with you, and yes, do the thing that you think you cannot do. And with that, I will turn it back over to Andrea for a question and answer period.
Wow, Tammie. Impressive. Really impressive. There are no questions in the chat yet, and there's only a couple of us on the call. So if any of you have questions that you would like to ask, go ahead and take yourself off mute and ask away.
Well, I just have a comment well, you said it all. That was very, very impressive. I loved it.
Oh, well, thank you.
You're very, very welcome.
I agree. That was impressive. That was good. Yeah. And last slide. This is the one we have right now. You must do the things you think you cannot do. I think it's also very, very well chosen as a citation. Yeah.
Yeah, this quote here, like I said, I doubted myself many a times, but this keeps me going.
We all, yeah, we are all at the same page. Yeah, doubting about ourselves. But yeah, I'm a scientist. I consider myself a scientist. I believe in the question mark, and question mark always take us like one step forward.
Yes.
And one step at a time.
Yes.
And the University of Fairfax, I think, is doing this the perfect way, I think. Yeah.
BJ, did you have a question? I saw you come off mute for a second.
Yes, hi Andrea. Hi Patricia. Good to see you. Hi,
Hey, good to see you
Hi.
too.
I had a question, now that I'm a student, there are times when you get busy with your work, and you also have your assignments. I know, feel a lot of it. Clear now?
Mhm.
So what are your tips or tricks to stay focused and, make sure maybe you're not working in the stream that you're studying, but eventually you'll move on. So what are your tips and tricks for the students? Or
Okay.
help to follow?
Okay, so if I understood your question correctly, so what are some of the tips and tricks that I use to keep focused and stay on track with the assignments? Is that correct?
assignment, subject, and what's happening in the industry?
Okay, that's an excellent question. So in terms of the assignments, I use two devices. Really, I have an app that keeps me alerted to when things are due. I also have a hard copy calendar that I use to actually write the assignments down, and I have to physically, cross out the date and physically cross out the assignment to make sure that I am doing things on time or even ahead of time. And in terms of staying abreast of things that are happening in industry, I subscribe to a few podcasts like Cyberwire Daily, and there's a few others. So when I'm, traveling to and from work, I usually just pop those or turn those podcasts on and I listen in, and they're anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes, so it's a reasonable amount of time, and that way I can stay abreast of what's happening.
Tammie, what's the name of the app that you use to help you with assignments?
It's called Informant.
Okay.
That's the app. It's called Informants. And I plug in my task, the due date, and again, you could set reminders, alerts, and it's been very helpful. My whole life is really on this app, but yes, primarily for school. Yes.
Great question, DJ.
Keep on.
Oh, sure thing.
Any other questions? All right, well, we'll wrap it up. I thank all of you, especially Tammie, for your presentation, but I thank all of you for joining us and listening in and supporting Tammie in her presentation of what she does during a day in the life of Tammie. So thank you all for joining us once again. Look for an email from me with the slides and a link to the recording coming out soon.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
everyone. Take care.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.